Okay, at 6 o'clock, we're going to call the special board meeting to order on August 9th. Roll call, please, Luana.
Mary Gill.
Here.
Sean Hamilton.
Here.
Quentin Harmon. Chuck Lander.
Here.
Steve Rogers.
Here.
Ken Miller.
Here. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go any further into the meeting, Mr. Spencer has a statement from Dr. Bug, who obviously could not be here tonight because he's with his daughter in Pittsburgh. So go ahead, Mr. Spencer, read that, please.
Yeah, as you said, I have a statement here from Dr. Bug. Ken will be here, but asked if I read this. I apologize that I cannot be with you tonight as I miss my school district family. Although my immediate family needs my attention right now for medical issues, I will be back with all of you soon. Please know that I have been in daily contact with school district administration and the board leadership as we work through the continually changing guidance and mandates from the state to develop a revised return to school plan you have up for discussion and consideration tonight. To our parents and community, I appreciate and understand your concerns regarding the recent executive order issuing a mask mandate for schools set forth by Governor Pritzker on August 4th. This mandate is also supported by the CDC, IDPH, and the Grundy County Health Department. All public schools in the state of Illinois that are accredited and are recognized must adhere to this mandate from the governor. The governor said that the new executive order eliminates the authority of school boards to adopt a mask optional plans to the start of the 21-22 school year. I know many have questioned the governor's authority to issue such mandates. Then in 2020, lawsuits were brought against the governor, challenging his authority to issue disaster proclamations and executive orders with public health mandates. The Illinois Appellate Court, 2nd District, and the Sangamon County Circuit Court upheld the governor's orders and ruled that he has the authority to issue such proclamations and executive orders under the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act and the Illinois Constitution. If the school district does not abide by this mandate, there is a significant liability exposure, and it's not just a concern about the school district and school district officials getting sued if a student gets COVID-19. The concern is far greater than that. School districts are not legally guaranteed insurance. We have to go out and find an insurance carrier, just like individuals have to find an insurance carrier to cover them. By not following the governor's mandate, we risk getting dropped by our current insurance carrier, and finding another carrier would be a definite challenge because of our perceived high risk of legal exposure. This means that if one of our schools gets hit by a tornado, if we had a fire and the school is destroyed, or if we got, God forbid, had a bus accident with injuries, the school district would have no insurance coverage, and the costs associated with such potential disasters will be on the backs of our taxpayers. In addition to the insurance concern, the ISBE has the authority to change the recognition status of our district and impact a minimum of $1.3 million in school district funding that is used to provide educational programming for our students. For our taxpayers, the associated costs of disregarding the state mandate are significant and consequential. The school district has received many questions regarding this mandate, which have been answered with an FAQ document that was posted on our school district website last Friday. One of those questions deals with remote learning options. Prior to the pandemic, remote learning for student attendance was not recognized for mandatory student attendance. At the end of last school year, the Illinois State Board of Education passed a resolution requiring that in-person instruction be provided to all students, with remote learning only a recognized student attendance option for those students who are ineligible for the vaccine, which are predominantly pre-K through 6th grade students, and who are quarantined by the Grundy County Health Department. As was the case pre-pandemic, there are limited exceptions to the state's mandatory student attendance policy for certain medical conditions. As the board is already aware, the CDC has moved Grundy County to the highest risk category for community transmission of COVID. My hope is that the current executive order on masking is a temporary mandate until this most recent surge of the virus subsides. If we hear any information that would allow us to go back to parental choice, we will immediately share that with our school district community. It is our responsibility to make the safety of our students a top priority. As a public school, we follow guidelines and policies from other state-run organizations. Although everyone is not always in agreement with those policies, they're put in place for the greater good. As administrators and school officials, we recognize that for every family who feels strongly on one side of the COVID argument, there are equally as many on the opposite side. We respect everyone's opinions and concerns, and will continue to provide a quality education for the students of District 1 and provide a safe learning environment for our students.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spencer. Before I ask for public comment, I have a statement that I need to read. And it says basically, all public school board meetings include an opportunity for comments from the public. Visitors wishing to address the board will be recognized by the school board president, which is me, pursuant to section 2C of the Open Meetings Act. No discussion of individual students or personnel matters are permitted in open session. You have a concern regarding an individual student or a personnel issue, you will be given time to address the board in closed session. In accordance with board policy 2:230, public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Additional time may only be granted by the school board president. After being recognized by the school board president, visitors addressing the board should state their full name and address, because all District 1 school board meetings are broadcast live via the internet for the community. And just as a reminder, I have to remind you, this is a public comment, not a question and answer. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to stay later and answer your questions. But this is just a public comment for the people here tonight. So if you don't mind, we'll start and go right down the list. Alicia?
Sure. I want to say, good evening, I'm Alicia Wettenkamp. I have 2 kids in this district. Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm a mother of 2 children in this district. I am very passionate about these schools and my children's education. The 2021 school year was a challenge for everyone, and I applaud our district for how they tried their best to accommodate every student and staff member the best they could. Our family appreciates the teachers, admins, and staff involved in keeping our school safe. As a parent, my number 1 concern in this world is my children. I have been fighting hard for their rights for well over a year, and it is so defeating that my cries are unheard. I know I am not alone in this fight. We have signed petitions, we have written state legislators, and we have been fighting tooth and nail to give our kids a voice. I'm absolutely appalled that our governor is now mandating that our kids be masked again. He is a bully and is making false threats that he himself rarely follows. It is not a mandate. It is a mandate, not a law. You are not legally obligated to comply with this. It requires your and our active consent, and I respectfully do not consent. Our governor is using this language to manipulate and scare us into volunteering that. He has threatened to remove school accreditation to the districts that don't comply with this new mandate. However, HB 789 did pass the House, but it did not pass the Senate, and he does not have the right to do that. His executive orders expired in March of 2020. Rules, guidelines, and things labeled mandatory require your active consent. You also state that you were in accordance with CDC guidelines, but their site still, as a few hours ago, still say face coverings are strongly recommended. The school board is made up of elected officials that we have voted in. Your role is to represent the students, staff, and parents in the district. I was very proud when the board voted to keep masks optional in our district. In my opinion, you represented what was best for our community by giving us our parental choice back. We as parents are also responsible for looking out for our children. It's time that we do not let political power or agenda prevent our children from receiving the best education possible. Wearing a mask is not the best education possible for my children. They both struggled emotionally and physically throughout the past school year and have begged to not have to wear them any longer. After consulting with our family doctor, our fear is that they will lack lung development, intake carbon monoxide, and get bacterial infections caused by wearing them. This is a greater threat than the virus itself for their age group. I am fully supportive if someone chooses to wear a face mask because they feel safer, but it needs to be a choice for all. The dirty spot in our bodies is our mouths. Why would you expect the students to sit there and breathe in all of that bacteria for an entire school day? That is so wrong. To say we can't breathe fresh air and oxygen and that it is killing others is the biggest scam in American history. My kids have suffered enough. They're missing out on critical socializing years that will shape their futures. I am begging you to support these children and give them a voice. Many states are ruling that the mask mandate in schools is unconstitutional. We need our children back in schools with the choice of mask optional. With due respect, when my students return to school on the 17th, my son and daughter will not be wearing a mask as it is not a law and they cannot be discriminated against by doing so. I am well aware of my children's rights. They have been taught to exercise their rights by saying no when given one when they enter the school. Please understand that this is for the health of my children and not a political interest. If you require a doctor's note exempting them, I can absolutely provide that. I ask that you join us in the fight to protect our children by banning the mandate and making it optional for those families that wish to do so. Please continue to support your initial ruling on this matter. If you can't fight for the students, if you can't set aside protocol, if you can at least try to fight with us parents, most of this board should submit their letters of resignation so that new leadership can be formed. Life must go on and we can't keep hiding and hoping that our government gives us the okay to live our lives. This cowardly move to bow down and do what's best for the state funding and insurance company warrants a change in our board. Thank you.
Okay, Destiny?
I just found out about this like an hour ago, so I don't have anything about that. What I will say is, thank you to you guys, or whoever was a part of it. I am so appreciative that our kids got in-person learning time last year. I know that must have been difficult to accomplish. Probably most people thought impossible, but somehow you guys did it. So when I voted in the school board election, I believe Mr. Hamilton and Ms. Gill, I don't even know who you are, actually voted for you because Mr. Hamilton vouched for you. So the Hamiltons are, we consider them friends. They're some of the first people we met when we moved to this area because we're not from here. But what I will say is the effort that you put into getting our children into school last year, doing what was best for them, I don't feel like you're doing that now. I feel like you have stopped advocating for our children. I do not know if it is because you are exhausted, because I am exhausted. I don't know if it's because you are lacking empathy, because I am lacking empathy and compassion. I am running on an empty tank, but someone has to advocate for my child. I'm here to advocate for my child and all the other children who really don't know that this is not normal. My son is not distressed by having to wear masks to school. And when you ask him why, he says, it's all I know. His formative years of 6th grade through 8th grade, all he knows, wear a mask, don't touch your friends. He doesn't know about going to the skating rink. He doesn't know about going to the movies with his friends, walking the mall. He doesn't know what he's missing because he's never had a chance to experience it. And in light of the mask, they do have physical health consequences that may seem trivial to you guys, but they're not to me and they're not to my child. My child has developed cystic acne from wearing his mask so many hours a day. He has scars that will be with him for the rest of his life, per a dermatologist. My son, over the course of last school year, had more cavities in 1 year than he's had his entire 13 years on this earth combined. That is because, per his dentist, a medical professional, they are breathing in nothing but bacteria, as she stated for us. Also, I don't think this is easy for adults either. Sir, can I ask your name?
It's Chuck.
Chuck, hi Chuck. I happen to notice that you wore your mask for 2 minutes and 40 seconds from the time I entered the building. And then you really seem to struggle to keep it on. Do you find the mask wearing uncomfortable?
Personally, I don't like wearing the mask.
Sir, reminder.
Ma'am, yeah, please, let's just keep it comment, please.
All right,
Thank you.
he lasted 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And he's the one, helping install this. But, and I do have to say, Mr. Nelson, I am disappointed with you because I do feel if anyone was going to advocate for our children and advocate loudly, that it would be you. And that is why I voted for you. That is why there was a sign in my yard that said vote for Sean Hamilton. That's why, I don't know if you would call me still your running mate. That's why I voted for her, because of my trust in you. And you are failing me and you are failing my child. You are not advocates. And like I said, I don't know what the reason is because you were sure as hell advocates for our kids last year and you did your darndest to get them the best you could. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you need to brainstorm. I don't know what it is you need to find that fire in you that got our kids in school, that kept our kids in school.
Very sorry.
But I trust that you will reevaluate and try to find that again.
Okay, thank you for your comment. No? Yeah, Chris?
My name is Christopher Clark. I live at 80 West Gordon. Coal City. My daughter goes to Coal City School District. I'm here because I am absolutely done with all this. I'm done. Everything the First Lady stated is, from what I could tell, from what I remember, was pretty accurate. With the executive order, he doesn't have, without due process, legal authority to yank funding. Of course he's gonna scare it. Of course. He wants everybody to do what he wants to do. And I'm not, maybe he doesn't mean bad. Maybe in his brain, in his heart, he thinks somehow this is a good thing. And I know that you guys come from a place where being threatened with that, you have to at least acknowledge in your professional capacity that, hey, the governor's threatening to yank funding. What do? Our backs to the wall. This is where I get disappointed. I grew up from here. I went to Coal City. I know I went to school. Some of you went to school with me. Some of you taught me. Some of you are my coaches. I remember going to high school and Mr. Mystic would do the coal miner cheer, which we found kind of trivial at the time, at least us students. But you know what? He was proud and strong and stood for something. Somehow over the course of the last year, our school board lacks that. Governor Pritzker cannot yank your funding. He can threaten it all he wants. I've talked to many lawyers about it. I even had some legal documents drawn up that I'm going to present to you today. And I have copies if anyone else would like some, because my daughter won't be wearing a mask when she comes to school. And I have statutes quoted, and we can talk it out in court. I'm not here to be a jerk. I don't want to be a jerk, and I don't think anybody here wants to be a jerk. But we all have children, we all have families, and this isn't going away. They can quote the science and say whatever they want. There's plenty of states that aren't doing this. There's villages like Orland Park, who's much bigger than us, who have already said they're not doing this. There's places like Manuka that are suing the governor now over this. We're better than this, at least the whole city I grew up in was. I ask that you guys please reconsider and start thinking hardly or strongly again about who we are, where we come from, our families, our small knit community, where we all are supposed to stick up for each other, make a nice community, make a good learning environment. This stuff doesn't have to be this way. I, for one, will not let it. I would like to present this to the school board.
Sure, I'd make sure they get it.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
My name's Brian Fletty, Alicia.
Yeah.
She basically hit all the points right on the head as far as I'm concerned. My daughter's first year of school was last year in kindergarten. And I specifically, luckily, am in a place where I can bring my daughter to school every single day, and I can pick her up from school every single day. So I get to amp her up, get her ready for school, send her in, and then I get to hear about it at the end of the day. 90% of my ride to and from school last year was calming her down about having to put up with wearing a mask all day long. Dad, I want to talk to my friends. Dad, I want to see him. How come I can't hug my friends? How come I can't? She's in kindergarten. As far as I'm concerned, we took her first year of school from her. And I don't appreciate that at all. I know that you guys did what you could. We got them in school learning. We could have pulled her out and done remote learning, but I wanted her there with her friends, with teachers, with people, so she could see it. It was very disheartening daily to have to try to reset her to go in the next day again, every single day. I know the teachers did a great job out here accepting them out of the trucks every day and getting them in, so I appreciate all the effort that you guys did put in. What I don't appreciate this year is the fact that, like she said and Chris said, we're going to let somebody in the state bully us as a community into what we can or cannot do for our kids here. I don't have any problem if their child wants to wear a mask. I don't judge. I don't care. That's their problem. What I don't like being told is what I can or cannot do with my child when she clearly 110% wants nothing to do with it. Like Chris said, they're not going to pull your funding. No governor is going to go out and say, we pulled funding. You know what kind of backlash you can get on that? You guys know better than that. As far as the lawsuits, nobody wants that lawsuit. Nobody here, anybody who even thinks for 10 seconds that their kids are going to be in harm's way are not going to let them go to school. Period. They're going to keep them at home. We had plenty of people over the last year and a half that have been hiding under the rocks
Everybody knows that, and that's fine. There's no judgment. Everybody can live their own way. But everybody in this room has no fear. They're more than willing to send their kids to school. They were told they would get the choice. Some probably were gonna say, hey, bring a mask with you just in case. Others were saying, nope, you're good, baby, go ahead. Well, now you guys are saying, nope, that's off the board, do what we say. At the end of the day, she comes home to me, not any of you. You don't have to deal with her crying. You don't have to deal with her saying, why can't I hug my friends, be with any? So I know some of you guys have kids, and I know some of you had to deal with this, and you know as well as anything else, they don't like it. It's not right. And like she pointed out, I don't want my daughter breathing in her own carbon dioxide. Oh, these kids, they sneeze in there, they play in there, they rub their nose. They can't be touching their faces all day long. Like she said, he only lasted a couple of minutes. He's an adult. I, for one, I've refused from day one to wear them. Per the science, where everybody else says I should have been in a hole a year ago, but here I am still. So I don't believe that we should take the choice away from the parents to choose on their own. Everybody here should be able to make the choice that they see fit for their child, and you guys should be able to direct accordingly from there.
Thank you, Brian. Go ahead.
I live at 370 Barber Court in Coal City. Wrote a few things down for you guys. I understand that you want to do what's best and right for our children and make it safe. But complying with the governor's mask mandate makes 0 sense. Mask optional plan, which we thought was what we were going to have, will cover both parents on both sides of the COVID line. You believe it, you can send your kid with it. You don't, they don't have to bring it. I'm asking for that mask choice back. That's all I'm asking for. As of today, in fact, 30 minutes before I pulled in, the CDC website guidance from K to 12 schools is only recommending masking for regardless of vax status. It's a recommended. It is recommended. I'm gonna say it again. It's not law. We did not vote in that CDC director. She doesn't make the laws. She just recommends. So what's the science say about masks and how do they work? Did you know COVID particles can pass through these masks that you all are wearing? I worked at a hospital, N95, only thing that stops COVID. No one's wearing them. N95 is the only thing that stops it. You can't breathe with those on. I know, I did it for 12 hours a day at the hospital. It's horrible, but it's the only thing that stops the virus. Honestly, that's what science says. So in your frequently asked questions you sent out last week, you stated that the ISBE can change your recognition status. Upon research, I looked up what they did. In fact, I found that they did put a school on probation in Southern Illinois. That probation status can last to 1 year for them to remediate their actions. So I asked if we do a mask optional, mask choice, they put us on probation. We have a year to revise our plan. So next year, we look at it again, we see our numbers, we revise our plan next school year. If schools can't stand up to the governor, who will? What are we teaching our kids? They have no choice. We have no choice. Let's see if that ISBE can try to strip Coal City from a non-legally binding mandate. The situation is unprecedented in a legal system. It's just a tactic being used by an attorney and special interest groups to force compliance. When we moved to Coal City 5 years ago, I saw signs saying Coal City strong, Coal City strong. Kind of knew what happened, but we weren't from Coal City. If we roll over to this mask mandate, we're not Coal City strong. You guys aren't, we're not. The school's worried about being liable. Last I understood the law, the burden of proof would fall on the parents to prove that the kid got it from our schools. Burden of proof from our schools. How do we know that they didn't contract it from their parent that brought it home from work, from church, from the grocery store? They would have to prove that it happened here at school. So I can go on and on about the laws, the numbers in our little community. In fact, I did. I looked at IDPHA, CDC, and Johns Hopkins numbers in Grundy County. They all have different numbers. Every single one of them, all different numbers. So what do we follow? I don't know. I'm just asking for choice. The parents that want to put their kids in a mask, let them. The parents that don't, let them. It's just a choice. That's all I'm asking for. If we conform and follow, there will never be an end to this mask and this vax game. Never. Let's be Coal City strong and make a stand and go mask optional. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Amy?
My name is Amy Walker. I have 2 kids now, 1 graduated that was your school district. And just like Megan said, I feel like you school board members who we elected, the amount of time it took you to send out a text message saying what you were gonna do after the governor went on, there is no way you looked up anything to prove anything. No way in the world. No way. So what we're asking is for you to actually look into it and actually see what the governor can do, because he can't actually do half of the stuff, and that's not right for our kids. My kids play sports, they're very active in sports. I would like you to get that mask wet, heat it up with a blow dryer and run down the basketball court with it. Then take it off every time you go to get a drink, but don't sanitize your hands, and then you're all gonna touch the basketball. What sense does that make? Zero. No kid sanitized after everything, they're touching the ball. They're all taking on and off their masks. They're sweaty, they're disgusting, they're nasty, sweating down their face. You have referees screaming at them on the court that they're gonna end the game if that mask falls down one more time. How can you keep a mask up that's sweating down your face? You cannot. I commend you guys for letting our kids go to school. I was so grateful my kids were in school. But when you have a kid coming home and like, it was so fun today eating my lunch on the gym floor all by myself in a corner. That's disgusting. And they shouldn't be eating lunch on any kind of floor. It should be at a table with their friends, with their peers, because that's what high school is about. My daughter's gonna be a sophomore. She got no homecoming, no nothing. She has no idea what real high school is about. She should be afforded that. And it should be my choice if I want her to have a mask on her face or if I do not want her to have a mask on her face. It's not your guys' choice, it's mine. I'm her mom, JB is not her dad, no, me. We're the parents, not you, not JB, not the ISDE, not the IHSA, nobody. It's us. And we should be able to make those choices for our kids. It's not your choice, it's ours. And that's why we elected you to fight for our kids. And if that's not what you're doing, then why are you here?
All right, thank you.
Shoot 2475 border in Diamond. I have 2 children in this district. I'm a registered nurse and I work in COVID through a pandemic. Both of my children went to school last year with face shields due to my advocacy through my pediatrician, as well as my daughter's allergist, who is a specialist, obviously. So what I'm asking of the school board is to do a little research and find the information of where and what evidence-based peer-reviewed research that the governor is using to mandate a mask. And by that, I mean, everything that I do in my healthcare is by evidence-based peer-reviewed research. It is vetted, it is documented, and it is proven to be effective. Find me the research regarding a cloth mask use, a surgical mask use, or a face shield, because there isn't any. And if you can find it, I would love to hear from it, because my hospital can't find it. No one else can provide that information because the documentation is not there. As far as the governor is concerned, the governor cannot mandate a law. He is not a dictator. We live in a democracy, not a dictatorship. It goes through the legislation. So it needs to go through the Senate and it needs to go through the House to get voted to become a law. There is House Bill, I think, excuse me, I have some documentation, I'm sorry. House Bill 2789, which is in process, but it's not a law, so therefore we don't have to follow a law if it's not been through legislation yet. So his mandation is still a recommendation. My children will not be going to school with a mask. They have not been in a mask for multiple months now, and they wore face shields last year just to get through the year to be able to go into in-person school. I applaud you all for putting us in school last year. I work in a community that I serve and work in. The majority of my peers, their children were homeschooled or had the option of remote learning or partial learning. So kudos to you that we were in school every day, all day, up until spring break when we went all day back to school. It was a feat in itself to get this there, but you need to keep doing the work and keep standing by our children and go back to what the CDC guidelines are. The recommendation is to recommend masks, to not mandate them. The governor does not have power over us like this. You guys have the power to make this decision for this school district and our children and your own children. Do the right thing.
Hazard,
Actually, I had a question, so, but
I'd be glad to address that.
yeah, afterward. So Jim Hazard, 4700 East Grand Ridge Road. I have one son, gonna be a junior. Just so I can go on the record, I agree with 100% with what everybody has said. I don't believe our kids should be in masks. I think it's more of a health issue with them being in masks and not being in masks. I did my situations with e-learning. Just like I said, I had a question I can speak to you about that afterwards.
All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you.
I got a short video. I want to play it like a. You guys got it where
How short?
it's like 6 minutes, I believe.
It's gonna take quite a bit of time.
Want me to wait till the end? I can wait till everybody else
Why don't
speaks
we
and
do
go
that?
last.
Why don't we do that? Yes,
Thank you.
yes, okay. All right, John?
Hi, I'm John Hoffmeyer. I just have a couple of comments. I was at, well, one of about 3 people that was at the school board meeting a few weeks ago when Dr. Bug gave like a 3-page presentation of why he was going with the CDC recommendations of just recommending face masks in school, leaving it up to the district. So he gave those reasons as to why he was gonna be, just recommend face masks, but not be mandated. And so that was passed. So then it came out, the 5th that Pritzker mandated masks now, so he changed his opinion. But I think I tried to send all of you, it was about a 40-minute video yesterday. I emailed, I think I got all of you. I don't know if you had time to watch it, but it was a handful of state representatives. I think they're from the northern counties. I wasn't familiar with them, but they had a pretty good cross discussion about the legality of Pritzker's mandate. They said it's illegal. They said we have to stand up as communities and stand against it, just like a lot of people here tonight are saying. Actually, I was late because David Welter had a town hall meeting at the Village Hall. So I went there. I thought that he might talk about it, but I couldn't listen to him. I had to get up and leave, so I ran over here. But yeah, I mean, if you could watch that video, I think they have some good pointers on what you can do to stand against Pritzker, stand together as a community. They said, we need to stand together, have a backbone, and go against him. It's illegal what he's doing. So, like somebody else said here tonight, they aren't gonna hold money funds from us. They aren't gonna fire people or sue people and I'm thinking as a community, if it's, I think Dr. Bug mentioned that they could hold back like $1.2 million in federal funds from us, or state funds, I guess. I almost feel like if it came to that, we should stand together as a community and have a vote. And maybe the residents would be willing to accept a law. Just one other thing, when I was here a few weeks ago, I gave Dr. Bug a brochure or document I got off the internet. I think it listed 17 ways that putting masks on kids is harmful to their health. And he said he made copies and passed it around, gave it to all of you guys. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but maybe revisit that. I mean, they aren't following the science, and we need to. The science is that masks don't work. There's been study after study after study. Like this lady who talking in the medical field, talking about their experiences with it. They know it. Everybody knows it. I mean, it just takes common sense. You look at all the different masks in here. Not one of those are approved for COVID. And it tells you right on the box of some of the blue masks, it's not effective for viruses. I've got a box that I bought off the internet when it started. I looked to see if I had the warning on it. There's no warning for that, but it says keep out of humidity. It's 90% humidity around here. They aren't any good. People are buying masks on the internet that you can see through. And they say that they're able to get on airplanes without anybody saying anything to them. So it's not about protection, it's about control. I think that's all it is. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Before I get back to the other Kevin, Mr. John, I'm sorry, is there somebody else that wants to comment? Pardon me?
I just had questions, so.
Okay, like I said, I'll be glad to answer.
Yeah.
Answer them later. Okay, Kevin, go ahead.
You guys got like a microphone you plug into, or just want me to play up front here?
You're gonna have to ask Jason.
Yeah, no, I don't have any way to connect
I'd
that.
also like to say, me and my daughter both got vaccinated to keep our loved ones safe, right? And now she feels attacked that she has to go back to school after she already took a big leap by her own choice. I didn't force her to do the vaccine. She said, yes, Dad, I want to keep you safe, my brother safe, her grandma who's got Lyme disease safe, that she sees every day, that watches her for me, where I can go to work and do my bit for her. Now she feels attacked that she has to go to school with the vaccinated fully with a mask on. She feels attacked and doesn't even want to go to school. She wants me to pull her out and homeschool. And I can't do that. I can't afford homeschool. I need her to go to school. I need her to see her friends, to grow up like I grew up. I don't want to neglect her from how I grew up. And this doctor on this video, he gives a school board a taste of like the real facts. And I just want you guys to hear. I think everybody should hear this video. It was taken off YouTube 2 days ago. Yeah, and now it's put back on because YouTube almost got a lawsuit up against them because they took it off and it's real facts, true. And I just want you guys to listen, that's all.
Okay.
A doctor from our community supports it, by the way, Carrie Cool, she agrees with us.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's a real good one.
Dr. Dan Stock, 5777 West 7 North Reports in Indiana. To address your comment, she's hardly 18 months into this and still having a problem. And I would suggest the reason we still have a problem is because we're doing things that are not useful. And we're getting our sources of information from the State Board of Health and the CDC, who actually don't bother to read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation. And everything being recommended by the CDC and the State Board of Health is actually contrary to all the rules of science. So things you should know about coronavirus and all other respiratory viruses, they are spread by aerosol particles, which are small enough to go through every mask. By the way, the literature that supports all of that is in the flash drive that we presented to you as being given to the secretary. As a matter of fact, it quotes at least 3 studies sponsored by the NIH to that exact fact, even though the CDC and the NIH have chosen to ignore the very science that they paid to have done. That is why you keep struggling with this, because you cannot make these viruses go away. The natural history of all respiratory viruses is that they circulate all year long, waiting for the immune system to get sick through the winter or become deranged, as has happened recently with these vaccines, and then they cause symptomatic disease. Because they cannot be filtered out and they have animal reservoirs. And this is a very important point. No one can make this virus go away. The CDC has managed to convince everybody that we can handle this like we did smallpox, where we could make a virus go away. Smallpox had no animal reservoirs. The only thing it learned to infect was humans. That's why we're able to make that virus go away. That will not happen with this any more than it will with influenza, the common cold, respiratory syncytial virus, adenoviral respiratory syndromes, or anything else that has animal reservoirs. So the reason you can't do this is because you're trying to do something which has already been tried and can't be done. Equally important is that vaccination changes none of this, especially with this vaccine. And I would hope this board would start asking itself, before it considers taking the advice of the CDC, the NIH, and the State Board of Health, why we are doing things about this that we didn't do for the common cold, influenza, or respiratory syncytial virus. And then ask yourself, why is a vaccine that is supposedly so effective having a breakout in the middle of the summer when respiratory viral syndromes don't do that? And to help you understand that, you need to know the condition that's called antibody-mediated viral enhancement. That is a condition done when vaccines work wrong, as they did in every coronavirus study done in animals on coronaviruses after the SARS outbreak, and done in respiratory syncytial virus, where a vaccine used in a vulnerable individual done the wrong way, which cannot be done right for a respiratory virus, which has a very low pathogenicity rate, causes the immune system to actually fight the virus wrong and let the virus become worse than it would with native infection. And that is why you're seeing an outbreak right now. In fact, in that flash drive you're going to have coming to you in emails with 6X, will be a study showing that 75% of people who had COVID-19 positive symptom cases in Barnstable, Massachusetts outbreak were fully vaccinated. Therefore,
is no reason for treating any person vaccinated any differently than any person unvaccinated. You should also know that no vaccine, even the ones I support and would give to myself and my children, ever stops infection. In 2014, there was outbreak of mumps in the National Hockey League. The only people who came down with symptoms were the people who were unvaccinated or unknown vaccine status. Boy, that sounds like a great argument for vaccines. But a question that you should ask yourself, knowing that half of the people who came down with symptomatic disease had no contact with an unvaccinated or unknown vaccine status individual, where did they get the disease? The answer was from the vaccinated individuals. No vaccine prevents you from getting infection. You get infected, you shed pathogen. This is especially true of viral respiratory pathogens. You just don't get symptomatic from it. So you cannot stop spread. You cannot make these numbers that you planned on get better by doing any of the things you're doing, because that is the nature of viral respiratory pathogens. And you can't prevent it with a vaccine because they don't do the very thing you're wanting them to do. And you will be chasing this the remainder of your life until you recognize that the Center for Disease Control and the Indiana State Board of Health are giving you very bad scientific guidance. And instead, read the articles that are coming on the email and on this flash drive, and listen to the people in this audience here tonight who actually recognize the advice they are getting from the CDC and the NIH is counterfactual. And that's why you're still fighting this with this vaccine that supposedly is going to make all of this go away, but suddenly managed to make an outbreak of COVID-19 develop in the middle of the summer when vitamin D levels are at their highs. By the way, the other thing that was necessary, any vaccine restriction be considered, and there were no other treatments available. And I can tell you, I've treated over 15 COVID-19 patients that between active living with vitamin D, ivermectin, and zinc, that there is not a single person who has come anywhere near the hospital. And we already have studies that show that if you treat a 25 hydroxyvitamin D level greater than 55, your risk of COVID-19 death will drop down to 1/4 of the population average for the United States. And there are active treatment trials included on that flash drive that show the same is true. So,
That's all the important stuff. And I just want to say too, my daughter, she's fully vaccinated. She will not be wearing a mask. I told her already, you won't, she won't. She's going to stand up and fight for her rights.
Anybody else? Okay. And with that said, I will entertain a first and second motion to approve the 2021-2022 return to school plan as presented. Council moves. Do I have a second? Mary seconds. Board members, anything you want to say?
I'll make comments too.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Don.
Unlike maybe Lenore, I've already had COVID once. I've gone through it. I lived through it. What are you gonna say? I understand your theories. I understand why you are against it. I'll tell you right now, I'm against it. But right now, I don't have a good option to get to that point. Until we have an understanding of how to get to the point where we can say, yeah, go ahead without the masks. I'm not sure how you can do it. Can we do it in a month? Can we do it fighting? I don't know. I really don't know. I am not vaccinated. I will not be vaccinated. I have no interest in it. The good news, I'm retired. Nobody's going to fire me from my job. A lot of people are already having that problem. They're being fired. It's not the government. The government is turning around and is playing games with us. And I don't know how else to get around it. Like I said.
Stand against it.
Yeah, stand up. You're in a position to stand up.
I lose my insurance.
Dr. Fauci don't even know.
I know, oh, I agree with you 100%. Everything I've watched says the same thing. But I don't know how we can get around it. I don't care about the funding. The insurance is the one thing that can kill us. If we get one lawsuit, they can kill us.
You're going to be sued by 30 parents
Yeah.
when their kids get sick.
Exactly.
The governor's going to be out of office before he gets a chance to do anything to us.
Please, sir.
We'll band together as a community.
Please sit down. Turn this into a debate.
You're past that.
Well, we've been very gracious listening to you. Now, I would appreciate the fact.
You better listen to us. We voted for you.
Thank you.
You don't have the choice.
You know, I could agree with Bob. This is not necessarily what I would want. However,
So you're the board president.
We have reached a point where I'm not sure there is a point of no return for now.
You're taking the easy way out.
So how do
Bravery
they-
doesn't
how do
mean
you-
thinking you're gonna be
How
able
do
to
you
do
reach a
some good.
point when
Bravery
school
means
hasn't
knowing
started?
there's consequences and doing what's right.
Call the motion.
Sean Hamilton,
Yes.
Mary Gill, Robert Bianca, Chuck Lander,
No.
Steve Rogers, Ken Miller.
Yes.
You're an embarrassment, coach.
Sorry.
Didn't you just say you said no when you voted yes?
I'm just
I
trying to figure out, how do you advocate for children when school hasn't started yet?
My kids shouldn't be wearing.
So are
You
you.
still
You're
have a
right. You're a
week to look
coward,
into
Sean.
all
You're all
this.
cowards.
Who's offices
It's
are
your
up
choice
for
to be
election
vaccinated.
next?
Mr. Miller?
But if you don't want to take the vaccine, that's your choice. My
Hope you guys are excited for the first day of school. We got something bigger planned.
Mr.
All right,
Miller?
let's just move on, okay? So, I would entertain then the first and second motion to adjourn. So moved. Sean so moves. Chuck seconds. All those in favor say
I'd like a
aye.
copy of this legal paperwork that I presented to them.
Please.
Unanimous.
I have extras. It's a great page. It outlines statutes and legal action.
All for nothing. Show. It's a pony game.